8, 7, 5, 3, 2. Oh,
I think we're recording.
okay.
Are we live?
Yes.
We are live with Gary Peter Carlson, the world's expert on souls and spiritual research. How are you doing today, Gary?
I'm doing good, and I'm anxious to crank out a good video with you here. Maybe I should tell a little more about myself that I didn't do in our first video. First of all, my goal is strongly to help humanity. On these videos, I can't monetize them yet or whatever. I'm not making any money on it. I just want to help humanity. In my adult life, the first 25 years of my adult life, I was a professional gambler and recreational drug user. I had a really easy, fun life and sometimes misery too. Generally, things were going good. And at some point in 2005, just after I got married, I got hit by a car as a pedestrian. And I'm fairly sure God's agents had this happen to me to get me out of gambling and into spirituality where I was supposed to be.
Right.
Because of this head injury that's slowed down my thinking some, I can no longer beat high stakes gambling, although I've tried. And and I took up after about 5 years, I got into spirituality and opened a website in 2010. I checkyoursoul.com. You'll probably see it in the notes or whatever when it's over, but that's where to go to learn more about my work and what I've discovered.
So you want people to know you've had a head injury. How does that affect your ability to think clearly and speak clearly? Does it impact?
I think I'm kind of as smart as I was, but I'm slower.
Okay.
Think slower, do things slower. It's hard for me to do a lot of computer work, although I try. It's easy to sit and watch videos and type a few emails, but it's hard for me to create a lot of new stuff as other creators. I'm what's called a wanderer. Wanderers are souls that went through the third density or fourth density that we're in. Soul group like us can go through third density or fourth density or some of both and complete their cycle, which is usually around 26,000 years. And then you're qualified for ascension to the fifth density. And you can make it out a cycle, or you can wait till the great year ends on your planet and a window opens where you can make ascension. Now, once you make ascension, you go through the fifth density, which lasts for a cycle if you do things normally, and over 95% of the people in there would. I mean, the positive, there's negatives and positives, but the vast majority of people in the fifth density are positive. And then 3/4 of a cycle into it, if you're in the top 8 in 10,000 spiritually, you're asked if you want to go back and help third density as a wanderer. And that's 0.8% of the wanderers come from fifth density, and I'm one of them. Most of the people complete fifth density, and then they go into sixth density, which lasts for, I think it's anywhere from 1 cycle to 1.6 cycles. And the reason it can last different lengths is to get everybody on that group in the same phase where they all go to the next density at the same time. Get back in sync, I should say. And a quarter way into that, if you're in the top 9 in 1,000, you're asked if you want to be a wanderer and go back to third density planets and help that group with spirituality. And 99.2% of wanderers come out of sixth density.
Right.
Now, if you come out of fifth density, when you incarnate on a planet, your soul's in 3 parts. It incarnates in 2 bodies, and about a third of your soul stays on the soul plane. In sixth density, your soul's even, I should say, more potent or something like that. And your soul splits into 4 parts. And you would normally incarnate in 3 bodies, and about a quarter of your soul would stay on the soul plane and like help younger souls and stuff. I'm out of the fifth density. Most of the time, you wouldn't get to know who the other souls are that your soul's part of. I found out that the other part of my soul's this guy, Frederick Dotson, I think his name is. Studied him very much. realitycreation.org. You could look at his website. He's a success coach. He's wrote 50 books in 7 languages. Did a hell of a lot more than me. But I found out the most important thing in humanity, I think, and that's that the people controlling us and running our world are reptilians. And what they did is they made clones of us and put their souls in human bodies. And the clones had children too, and they created more people. And they got about 4 million people that have human bodies and reptilian souls controlling our planet. We'll go more into that soon.
Well, that's all right. That's a good segue. Of course, I gotta muzzle that one. Sorry.
Yeah.
So maybe we can break it down for people and kind of pick up where we left off in our last video. You've put out a number of videos, right? How many videos would you say you've put out to date?
96.
You know. Okay. So you've spent the last 10 or 15 years, at least, right? Working.
Since 2010. Yeah.
All right. So you've spent 15 years learning about souls and becoming one of the world's experts on souls and spiritual research. And you've put out almost 100 videos, and not a whole lot of people have either seen your video or given given you the time of day that this information deserves. We're talking about what would you call it? The most sacred, important information you could share with humanity? Is that, I mean, how would you describe it?
I feel it is, but for some reason, well, first of all, few people understand the souls, and second of all, I didn't have any friends in high places on the internet, I didn't have any base to start with. I don't have any close associates really, and because of my head injury, I don't look like the sharpest, brightest guy that can create a lot of stuff real fast.
Well, and so what you need
There's
is,
some other reason that something's supposed to come up in the future or something. So maybe God is holding us back. I'm not sure.
well, all right. So what you would love to do is to be interviewed by someone who has great visibility out on the web, correct?
Yeah, I did have that going with Alfred Weber, but something happened to him, and he all of a sudden his soul score went way down, and he picked up all kinds of bad karma, and he doesn't want to. He's not interested in interviewing me anymore.
Well, so
I sent him an email recently and told him how his soul score went way down and his bad karma went way up, and that wanderers have to discharge all their karma before they die, and he's digging a hole for himself and he needs to stop digging. And he wrote me an email back, and as all he said is, "You're in my new book." And he showed the page of the book, and that was all he said. And that was very puzzling. Like he wasn't concerned whatsoever, you know. I think the reptilians did something to his mind or something, but I
well,
don't know what.
so why don't we for this video, and I hope uh, people watching will realize that um, you and I are going to start making more videos together. And I go by John of the Light on the web, and you go by your name, Gary Peter Carlson, correct?
Yeah, also I use Guac 77.
Okay. So,
and people know me by my website, icheckyoursoul.com.
okay. So you're very visible. You're on the web, icheckyoursoul.com, and you've put out 100 videos almost, and everyone knows you as Gary Peter Carlson, and you're looking to try to get interviewed by people who have much greater visibility with maybe a following and an audience, and you'd love to get these spiritual truths, which is, high level sacred quality information out to the world. You're trying to help humanity by teaching humanity about the soul and spiritual truth.
Yeah, but a problem that I got is that a big amount of the information I got, I discovered with dowsing. I don't have physical proof of my stuff, and that's like a deal breaker or something like that to a lot of people, you know. Oh,
Right.
you got that dowsing? I don't know about that, you know. But it seems to add up, you know. I mean, you can come up, check out the information I got with no proof, and then you can look things over and size it up and compare it and think about it, and you would think, you know, that kind of makes sense, you know.
Right. Okay. Well, what?
I douse people's mini soul reading,
Right.
and then other people that know that person, they look them over, and yeah, that fits him pretty good, you know. I mean, I get a bad reading for a crappy person and a good reading for a good person.
Sure.
Wasn't like that in the very beginning, but it changed to that pretty fast after God's agents decided to work with me a lot better.
Well, so what you're saying is for those people out there that are looking for good, hard evidence, concrete proof of soul and spiritual truths that you're trying to teach to humanity, it's hard to present those. There aren't many that can be shown. A lot of it is something you take on faith, right? These are things that it feels right, and you're getting confirmation through dowsing, but that doesn't really translate well when you're showing proof to someone else, correct?
Right. I'll give you an example. There's what's called a star seed, and some people find out they're star seeds, whereas I can find out through dowsing if someone's a star seed. Other people claim they can find it out. One person claims they can find it out with astrology, and a lot of people found it out by getting messages from the spirits that they're a star seed.
Okay.
And a lot of these, and a few of the star seeds, not very many of them, put out fantastic work and have a big presence on the internet, like Carrie Cassidy or
Sure. Everyone knows Carrie Cassidy.
Cliff High and
Everyone knows Cliff High. Yeah.
right. I should make a list of these people. There's a lot of them out there, but there, for every one that put out a lot of information, there's 15 of them that are just regular normal people that you never heard of, from doing soul reports and it's finding out who's a star seed.
Okay.
So people have put out books and work and show all this fantastic stuff that star seeds have done, all this work they put out, all these special talents they have. But is what I found out is star seeds come to Earth not so much to help the people here, to help humanity, as some of them greatly do, but the reason they're here is to make an individual ascension to the fifth density when our great year ends and this ascension window is going to open. I think it's it's supposed to be like 2027. There's like 35 to 60 million star seeds here.
That's a lot.
Right. And then there's another 1 billion humans that are qualified to make ascension.
Right.
You got to be polarized positive. Not everybody is there. I think about 700,000 people on Earth, 700 million are polarized positive. And when this window opens, they're all going to make ascension to the fifth density along with the star seeds. But we'll have, that remains to be seen if I got the timing on that right. But it feels right and comes out right. And other people contacted me about it, that they're getting the same information through a different way,
So real quickly, one question. Do you get that planetary ascension will occur first prior to individual ascension?
Usually, yes, but it's not for sure. I think planetary ascension comes first and then individual ascension.
Okay.
But I think this, I was told for the longest time, the individual, how they say in the Bible, no one knows the time and the date and all that kind of thing.
Right.
I think that's what God was talking about, the ascension window opening up. But he doesn't, or Jesus or whatever, but he doesn't say that exactly. So what I was getting for at least 10 years now is that the ascension window is going to open up somewhere from 2025 to 2029. And there's going to be a window open, and it's going to stay open maybe 2 months, and people are going to get taken one at a time to the fifth density. But I mean, there might be thousands of eighth density beings that'll grab people individually to take them there, and maybe in some cases 2 or 3 people will go together.
Right.
Star seeds will go to the fifth density on their planet, and the 700 million humans will go to fifth density on our planet. But they'll be taken, one at a time. But maybe there might be 100,000 or so eighth density people from all over our galaxy group to grab individual people, and they give you like a 2-hour warning. You're going to go, so you can say goodbye to your friends and loved ones. And somebody contacted me and says, I got this solid information that's going to happen in 2027.
Yeah.
And he says, does that agree with your work? And I says, yeah, that's the middle year of the 5 years.
I mean, it's right there in that window of time. Yeah. And other people say,
I'm going with it's 2025 to 2029, probably in 2027, I say now.
Right. All right.
So we'll see what happens on it.
Well, so I mean, you don't really have to introduce yourself more than you did. You've put out many videos, and you've probably introduced yourself in much more depth. You talk about practicing spirituality without religion. Is that correct?
Right. I'm a firm believer that all the religions, or at least the major ones, might be some little tiny religions, but the major religions were all started by these people with reptilian souls, and they're used to control people. I mean, it's pretty clear that the Catholic Church started that way, and you can research the Vatican and you'll find out there's an evil child molesters and all kinds of evil people
Right.
in the Vatican.
Right. The truth
And I get they all have reptilian souls. I get every single pope had a reptilian soul. I mean, I don't know about they say the very first pope was Peter. He may not have, but I think pretty much all the ones after that.
Sure.
And if you read some of the stuff in the Bible about the first few people that became saints or canonized or whatever by the Pope or whatever, I get that they're all got reptilian souls. So I think that Catholic Church is at the top, totally controlled by people with reptilian souls. Now, if you go down to the individual church, those can be a good, happy place, and the priest can be a good person and everything. But you probably heard a lot about these priests molesting kids and stuff like that. Every time that's the case, it's because the priest has a reptilian soul. The person with a reptilian soul, a draconian, there's like 4 major kinds, but if you got a draconian soul, you get this huge energy burst when you have sex with a child before puberty.
I mean, it's just evil. It's gross.
Yeah, it's horribly evil to be a pedophile. And you hear about all this child trafficking all over the place. It's all for these draconians to get this energy rush. That's what the child trafficking is all about. But people talk all over the place about child trafficking, but they don't understand what causes it.
Right.
What causes it is the people with draconian souls
Right.
wanting this energy rush.
It's super.
And no one else has that out. And if you think about it, it probably makes sense because, well, why would all these people want to child traffic so they can have sex with all different kids? I mean, what's possessed these people to want that? And it costs a lot of money to pay somebody to steal children from another country and sneak them in and hide them in underground bases and all the stuff you hear about it. They're hidden underground and they're brought in this cargo ship and all this stuff. I mean, there's a lot of hoop-de-doo about it. I mean, why would they go through all that unless there's some big benefit of it? And there is for the guy to get the energy rush on it.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about.
Well, let's if you don't mind, let's go through kind of where we left off on our last email.
Yeah.
And let's break down what you consider to be some of the most sort of fundamental, sacred, spiritual truths that I think, people need to address first before they get into all of your research, because you've got this massive body of research, and it's mostly, for the most part, it's on your website, icheckyoursoul.com. But people over this, hurdle. And the hurdle is getting past some very basic truths. What you claim to be, and I believe you are, is one of the world's experts on souls. Well, I don't know that a lot of people even believe that they have a soul. I mean, it's hard to understand that there are a lot of people on Earth today that don't really believe in souls. They don't understand that they have an indestructible soul that does not die. And when they die, death does not end it. We reincarnate, not immediately, but again and again, sometimes in different forms, correct? Not always into a human body on this planet, sometimes on other planets. Do you want to mention that? I mean, this is probably one of the most fundamental things.
I do a lot of soul reports for people.
Right.
And if someone completes their cycle and gets qualified for ascension, that's supposedly going to happen in 2027. You normally to go through the cycle, that's 25,920 years. You normally have about 108 lives to go through that, and you probably finished it up anywhere from 15 to 20,000 years ago. You finished that cycle, and then your oversoul has incarnated another 5 or 6 times, and most of the people in your oversoul, which is 22 to 32 souls, most of the people in there made ascension out of cycle. But the people that are here now that are qualified for ascension are one of the 1, 2, or 3 people that didn't make ascension out of cycle. And so they normally have 114 lives. And now they're in this life, and they're going to live until the window opens, and they're going to make ascension.
If they're qualified for ascension.
Yeah, if they're.
But what about for the rest of the people? All right, let's talk really quickly about the masses, the majority of humanity, right? Do you want to address the question of why they're incarnated now here at this time? Like, they'll say to you, if I have a soul, what's the point? Like, why do we even have a soul? I mean, isn't that a fundamental fact, a fundamental truth?
Well, your soul lives forever and your body's temporary, so the soul is the real you.
Correct.
And you incarnate in the body to learn lessons and experience yourself, so to speak. I mean, it's kind of confusing because when the soul incarnates, at that same moment, a mind starts. Your mind comes into being. And the mind always starts out empty. And the mind learns by experiences. And the soul cannot load the mind with information. But the soul can guide the mind on what to do and what not to do to try to be a good person or whatever. And I noticed people in their first 2 or 3 lives, they have a low soul score and a lot of bad karma, and they make all kinds of mistakes. Like somebody comes over to the house that I've tested that's in their second life. You know, when they leave, none of the bottles have their caps on. I got to search for the caps and different weird things like that because their soul's immature. And so I clearly can see that when I test these people. But the majority of the people on Earth are somewhere within that cycle. And they got a lot more lives to live before they're qualified for ascension.
You said within that cycle of
108 lives during 25,920 years.
And if they do the math, which many people will, they'll realize that a lot more lives could fit into that time frame. So what that means is they're spending time up on the soul plane.
Yeah, you spend more time on the soul plane than you do living.
So during this period of time, which we call a cycle, people experience somewhere in the realm of 108 lives, which means that they're reincarnating 108 times. And most people on Earth today, humanity, are somewhere in that cycle of 108 lives. And you could argue is they're here, they incarnate in third density to make spiritual decisions, learn lessons of love, and grow spiritually, correct?
Yeah. They learn they learn spiritual lessons. There's 15. If you look at my website, there's one of the first 2-3 pages is 15 spiritual lessons.
Right.
Every soul learns those during their lives, and usually they get them all completed during their first 30 or 40 lives. But the other people in your oversoul can complete a lesson for everybody in the oversoul. So each time your life's over, all the 22 to 32 people in the oversoul share all the past life experience. So everybody gets a memory of everybody's past life. And if anybody completed one of those spiritual lessons, then everybody in the oversoul completed it.
All right. So people are here to learn lessons, and the point is to graduate effectively, right? To graduate to the next level after you've grown spiritually and learned the lessons you were intended to learn in your density.
Right, I agree.
All right.
So we're at the 34th minute at this point. How did you want to?
43rd minute.
34. Yeah.
I mean, we can keep going. If you want to break down some of these truths, we can break it down now, or we can do it in the next video.
Right. You wanted to not have the videos be too long and have it of. So you want to end here, and
why don't we end here, and we'll pick up where we left off in the next video. And what we can tell viewers out there is that we will we'll try to break it down for you, some of these most sacred spiritual truths, and have Gary talk about them.
Okay. All right. So let's end for now. And
Much
this
love to
end of
everyone.
video too. Thanks for watching. Tell other people about this if you can. And be sure to go to my website and consider getting a soul report or a free mini soul reading to know where you're at spiritually.
And if you want to continue this conversation, go to our next video, which we'll pick up right here where we left off.
Right. Send me an email too. Bye.